Those in the circle like yourself may have heard this coming after reading the statement that came out today. But I guess this comes as quite a disappointment for the markets that had been betting on cuts starting in March.
Well, there are a lot of people who had wanted cuts as soon as possible, and there are some arguments in favor of it. But when the Fed said we're going to be neutral now about the economy, and basically that's telling you the next thing they're going to do is cut, they put in the sentence about not having confidence to tell people it wasn't going to be March. But right. I guess people weren't picking up on that enough, and Powell came into the news conference prepared to say we're not going to likely do it in March. And you notice the way he said it was he didn't rule it out.
Sure.
That remains to be seen. But he said it's probably not going to be March.
So we're still data dependent here. The chair saying, I don't think it's likely the Fed will cut in March, but also going on to say will be appropriate to dial back at some point this year. So what would be the next best thing?
Well, he emphasized the fact that in the dot plot that they put together in December, the majority, the consensus was for 3 rate cuts this year. So he suggested that's still on track. And they now are saying that the economy is in a place where they, in theory, could cut. They just want to make sure that inflation is continuing to go down. The best bet is probably May. By that time, you would have 3 more PCE inflation reports, and that's their target. So they're looking at that. And as he noted, for the last 6 months, it's been running under 2%. So if they continue to get that kind of inflation data, then May would probably be a good time to do it. And they could do May, June, July, or May and July, maybe even skip September to stay out of the presidential race, then do it in November, which their meeting is 2 days after the election, so they'd be safe there. But it doesn't look like they're going to do more than 3, and it doesn't look like they're in a hurry to start, but they will start this year.
You were in the room for the news conference after. You had a back and forth with the chair. What do you make of, what was it like to hear him actually use the word disinflation, that he says is coming from the goods sector, and what that might turn out to be a couple of months from now?
Well, they basically have been moving in that direction. I mean, their initial view was we had to have unemployment go up and the economy had to slow really down to bring demand down so that prices would fall. But instead, because of supply chain issues healing, we've seen goods prices in particular come down. There was a spate of service price increases because, in part, companies were raising prices because they could and because they also had to pay more for workers. But that's starting to level out now. And so we're seeing disinflation, not deflation. I asked him about deflation, and he said, we don't want to see that.
Yes, right.
But he does say that we're seeing disinflation now, and that's what we want to see continue. Notably, he didn't say it needs to go faster or we need to see anything better than what we're seeing. We just need to continue to see what we're seeing.
Of course, deflation is what consumers and voters are waiting for as they continue to compare prices to 2019.
They're not going to get that.
Very different story that we're talking about here. He was asked about his tenure, Michael McKee. I wonder your thoughts on this. Here's Jay Powell on a possible 3rd term as Fed chair.
It's not something I'm focused on doing our jobs. This year is going to be a highly consequential year for the Fed and for monetary policy, and we're all of us very buckled down, focused on doing our jobs.
That's what he's supposed to say, right? Is that what he
Well, it's also
believes?
really premature. He's only been in this term for 2 years now. He's got 2 more years to go. The likelihood he would be reappointed if Donald Trump were elected is pretty much 0. So, you know, why if you're him, focus on that for now and wait and see how you feel when you get to 2026.
Well, we'll see how that goes. If he does a couple more Grateful Dead shows, although I guess he can't go to those anymore. He's going to have to do something with his time.
Well, maybe we'll sneak him in.
Yeah, fair enough. Michael McKee, always a pleasure to see you, Bloomberg Economics editor, with us here in the nation's capital as we turn to our other top story today on balance of power, and that's our new poll from Bloomberg News and Morning Consult. As we turn now to Wendy Benjaminson for more on this. Wendy, you've been knee-deep in these numbers since we started going in the field, and we should note that that was between Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yes, we went in the field January 16th, the day after the caucuses.
As the momentum was really coming behind Donald Trump.
Right.
It appears the headline is the swing states are swinging for Trump. This is not great news for Joe Biden in any of the 7 states we looked at.
Right, exactly. And we picked these 7 states because these are states that don't always vote for the same party. You can count on California to carry a Democrat. You can count on Texas and Florida to carry a Republican. But these 7 states are the ones that swing back and forth, hence we call them swing states. And Biden won 6 out of 7 of these in 2020. Trump won 6 out of 7 of these in 2016. So to get to the White House, you have to win most of these states. Right now, still 9 months, 10 months out, 11 months out, it looks like Trump, if the election were now, Trump would win because of these swing states. However, the wrinkle that we discovered in the poll this time is that if he were convicted of a crime, 53% of these voters in both parties say that's the floor. That's where their support for Donald Trump stops.
This has got to be the conversation inside Nikki Haley's camp today, why we stay in the race. Fascinating. You can look at these numbers, Wendy, through the eyes of the horse race, through issues, or in this case, Donald Trump's legal challenges. If convicted, and this is awfully important here, what's the number? 53%,
53%.
To start off with here would not vote for Trump. If sentenced to prison, even more.
55% if he were sentenced to prison. The huge, to be sure, as we call it, though, is getting the trials to the point where this is even possible, right? We are waiting to hear from the D.C. Circuit Court if presidential immunity will end all of this.
That's right.
The Georgia case has been thrown into disarray by this question over Fani Willis and the prosecutor's divorce. The Jack Smith case over January 6th is sort of delayed, and the documents case is delayed, maybe that one until after the election. So the chances of any of this happening before the election are decreasing, and whether Nikki Haley can stay in the race that long or, might be a problem for her. We're
having a big debate here in Washington about the border. Immigration looms large again in this poll. As we learned on the ground in Iowa and New Hampshire, AP VoteCast told us that was far and beyond the most important issue, which is really something for Joe Biden. It's a damned if you do in this case because the economy is improving just as voters turn away from it, it seems like. Wendy, more than half of swing state voters, in this case 61%, say that Joe Biden is at least somewhat responsible for the wave of migrants at the border, way more blame than they're giving congressional Republicans here. How do you turn that around in an election year?
Well,
especially if there's no deal.
Right. And it doesn't look like there's going to be a deal because Trump has told the Republicans in Congress not to give him a policy win, not to give him, Joe Biden, a policy win in this election year. So there won't be a deal on the border. One of the things we have seen, though, is that when Biden talks about an issue with passion and conviction, the way he does about the threat he believes Trump poses to our democracy, his numbers on how many voters trust him on that issue grow. But Biden has been very quiet about the border. And he put out a statement, a written statement saying, if they give me the authority, I'll shut down the border now. But he hasn't come out to a podium and talked about this. That might ease some voters' concerns. But right now, the only voices they're hearing about the surge of migrants at the border are Republican voices.